Well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and this one we're going to look at the Jaguar I-Pace all-electric car you see behind me. But it's a bit more than that, because a few weeks ago we obviously had that Range Rover Sport plug-in hybrid, and just seeing how that fitted in with our lives. And now I want to look at basically not only the I-Pace but just electric cars in general. Could I replace the sort of family car with a Jaguar I-Pace? And I've been using one in the background now for a few months. We've done 2,500 miles in a pure electric car, just living with it. How do we get on with it? Can we live with a plug-in structure? Where do we charge it? And that sort of thing. So that's what this video is all about. Let's firstly take a closer look at the Jaguar I-Pace and just see what it offers. Now, the I-Pace is described as an SUV because, well, it's got two electric motors and it's four-wheel drive, and it sort of is the shape of a modern SUV. It sits slightly higher, but it's an elegant car. In my book, it does look very modern. Part of me is disappointed that it has the Jaguar grille at the front. It just seems an opportunity with car design. If you don't actually need the grille, why design it in there? But it is the face of Jaguar these days. But this is a completely false grille. If I zoom in right close, that does absolutely nothing. That is a moulding that passes no air. The only thing it does, if I quickly look up there, you might be able to see daylight there, because that actually scoops out and then the air sort of rushes up here. So it's aerodynamically, it has a job to do, but the actual grille hides under there. That's where the little radiators are. You need a radiator for the air conditioning, and then there is a sort of cooling system for the batteries. That's what electric cars have, but they have a much reduced radiator requirement than a conventional internal combustion engine car. But I still think it's a good looking car. It just has a modern stance about it, and it's obviously won lots of awards, enhanced by this particular version, this one I have in front of me, because it sits on the 22-inch wheels. I've had another I-Pace in, and that one is on 20-inch wheels, so it's been quite interesting to compare and contrast the two cars. An I-Pace, if you go into a dealership, an S, the standard one, they all have the same drivetrain. It's just different spec. Comes in at 64,000 as near as damn it, less the 3,500 grant you get in the UK if you buy an electric car. But this is the HSE spec, which is 74,000 to start with, but it has quite a few extras on this car. We go through the list. The black metallic paintwork, £700. Aluminium weave carbon fibre trim finisher inside, £1,300. Suede cloth headlining, £900. 22-inch wheels, £2,400. Electronic air suspension, £1,100. Fixed panoramic roof, £960. Then it's got all this carbon fibre externally on this car. So you see this finisher here. That little lot comes to £3,000. So together with head-up display and privacy glass, the I-Pace you're looking at now is £87,167. £87,000 worth of I-Pace. I was pretty shocked at that, because I never realised you could get up to that sort of price. That's Porsche Taycan price. You actually get two boots on an I-Pace. You can open it on your key, and this front one isn't a lot of good for much because it's a bit small, but I keep the charge cable in there. We've got one at the home charger. We actually have a cable, permanent cable, and then I do use this one if I'm out and about. Then a bigger one at the back. Up it goes. More black car. We're sort of fighting a black car in a black shed and a black interior. Fold down seats you get in here, and then a little thing that folds up there, which is an emergency side. This is get you out of jail charger, which you can use with a normal plug. So if you go and visiting friends or something like that and they haven't got a proper car charger, you use that. One thing on this car I should say is there's no rear wiper, and this really winds you up in normal use because it just gets dirty and filthy. There's nothing you can do about it. You're completely reliant on the little camera down here, but that gets just as dirty. And with a privacy glass, and it's very narrow, so there's not a big view out of it, but it all looks very cool and chic. And a quick look at the interior. This one's quite tricky because it's got a sort of fabric interior. It's a no-cost option on the car. It's like a linen. You notice it on the door here. Nice look. What I want to do is get it outside and just take you through some of the controls, the weirdness of an electric car. Just takes a little getting used to if you've just never driven one before. Let's take it outside now. Okay, well the car's fully charged, so as I get in, I'm met with a range of 244 miles, 100% charge. The start-stop button, but there's no heroics when you press it. There's that sort of sound like that. Dash lights up, and then my gears are live, so I can press drive and I can go forward, or I can press reverse, and you get a bleeping sound. I don't know if you can hear that. Right, what I'm going to do now, just to get used to the, so you can get used to the car, I've got actually driving to London. There it is. I've popped the address in, 73.7 miles. So that's not exactly going to test the 244 mile range. I want to see how real that 244 mile range is, because I find the usage depends on usage. If we're going down the motorways I'm about to do, you're at a constant speed. There's no regen happening. One of the things you do when you get an I-Pace is sort of make it how you want it. It's like a giant computer being in an electric car, so you can vary sort of how it feels and how it behaves, sort of more than you can with a regular car, I think. First of all, the climate, it knows this little button here, because it's an issue, supposed issue with full electric cars, is how they warm the cabin. It has this little button here. It sort of recognises as soon as you get in. It says, oh, there's no one sitting in the passenger seat, therefore the only climate bit I need to be concerned about is just here, this driver. They're not going to moan about it in the rear seats. And then you have some, if I go back to the home screen, flick left, I have my EV screen. Press that, and then that tells me how much battery I've got and can do preconditioned stuff. But I go to EV setup and I set the regenerative braking to high, so that's when you come off the accelerator, it actually brakes a bit more, well, much more than a conventional car. It's like having an accelerator and a brake on the same pedal, if you like. You can have it to low and that just feels more conventional, like a normal car, but I like the one pedal control you get by having it in high. Well, we've done 50 miles of motorway now, I'm on the M40, just coming up to the M25 junction, and yeah, if I just look at the dash, what you got to think about on electric cars, you're sort of used to MPG with a normal engine. What I'm looking at is kilowatt hours per 100 miles. That's what the Jaguar readout is. Quite often it's displayed as watt hours per mile, but you just move the decimal point along. And we're averaging, over the past 51.6 miles, we have averaged 44.1 kilowatts per 100 miles. It's basically its MPG, if you like, how much energy it's using. And what I've discovered from running an electric car is they don't particularly like motorways, and you can see a massive increase in that figure, kilowatt hours per 100, depending on what speed you do down the motorway. I've got the cruise set at 94, whoops, slip of the tongue, officer, at 74, because that's just on 70, just actual real satellite measured speed. But I'm still at 44 kilowatts per 100 miles, which isn't great. And I've noticed that the amount of miles on the range is not matching at 244 miles anymore. Because the thing, what happens on a motorway is it's constant drag. It's constantly using power. It's never regenning. Your speed is pretty constant. The downhill bits, because of wind resistance, you're doing 70 odd, it still takes power. You're not coasting. And the uphill parts will take quite a lot of power. So yeah, you end up at 44 kilowatts. So if I've got to do a bit of maths here. So I'm 171 mile range left, having done 53 miles. That's 224 miles, isn't it? So the range, that quoted range at the beginning of 244, I've eaten a further 20 miles into it beyond what I've travelled, if you get what I mean. So that was a slightly optimistic by 20 miles, and that's after just 53 miles. So you can imagine if you're undertaking a 200-mile journey on the motorway and you're going to do 70 miles an hour, the battery electric vehicle doesn't do the range you think it's going to do. It gets better when we get into town and you've got more stop-start. So that's basically the lesson I've discovered when you use these cars on the motorway. Now we're right in central London. Suddenly I think the electric car comes into its own. To be able to drift around in silence is terrific. I don't know, it just seems to enhance where you are. It calms you down. There's no stop start. It's like it's on stop all the time, and yet you have this easy motion. And also you're getting regen, and regen I think is my favourite feature on an electric car. I just love this idea of gaining that energy back from braking, but you're not braking, you're just taking your foot off the accelerator. And I just say, isn't that a wonderful way of sort of saving money and just clever tech, that you get back some of that power that you release during acceleration, you get it back by just taking your foot off the accelerator. And I see we've generated 3.1 kilowatt hours on this journey, 40.6 now the average for coming down here. It hardly uses any power just drifting around. You've got no hard acceleration. Everybody's even getting worried about brake dust and things like that. Well, there isn't any, again, with the electric car, because it's regen, it's doing it off the motors. Most of the braking, I'm barely using the brakes. I'm using it here at the traffic lights just to hold myself here. Anyway, I'm going to find my car park now, and then on the way back I just want to show you how it all works. If I were going to plug the car in and fast charge it, I want to go and visit a fast charger and show you how that all works. Something I should say, just if you have got an electric car and you're coming into London, I just checked to do the congestion charge, and I had to pay it in this car because it doesn't you think an electric car would be exempt from congestion charge. Well, it is, but you have to register it for that exemption. It's not automatic, because Jaguar Land Rover haven't actually registered this press car with TfL. I have to pay the congestion charge to drive it into London. Oh, lovely, look at that Rolls Royce Shadow, chauffeur driven as well, just great. There's a big BP there, just coming out on the A4, about to turn into the M4. I seem to think there's a charge station down here, and I want to try it out. So I've not tried one of these. Polar charge centre, there they are, EV charging. Well, that's interesting. There's people hanging around, and guess what? That's taken, that's taken. Oh, joys. Well, that's my first go at fast charging, and they're all taken. Good job I'm not out. Yeah, I've got plenty of range. I just wanted to try it out, and I thought that'd be a good one to try it out, but no, they're all taken. It does make me wonder what is going to happen if electric cars get properly popular, because I'm sure isn't that going to happen all the time. Anyway, I know there's another one. There's one at High Wycombe I'm going to try if I don't spot one on the way between here and High Wycombe. That was a pain. Right, I've come off the motorway and I'm now looking for the Holiday Inn, which I think is in here, yeah. Because there's meant to be a fast charger here. I haven't used it. It's Polar, and I'm hoping there's no one on it. Okay, so we have a charger there. And a good thing about a fast charge like this is the cable is actually on the pump, if you like. It's just like a petrol pump. Normally if you fill up places and they have courtesy charge point, it actually, you have to get the cable out and plug it in, but on this one it's there. Right, let's see how we get on. Card is being checked. ID. That's interesting. Overnight stay, £10 per hour fee for usage over 90 minutes. Well, that's a good start. Card invalid. Right, well, I've downloaded the Polar Plus app. I noticed it had a 1-star rating on the App Store. I'm just having to register. Password. At least 8 characters, lowercase, uppercase, numbers, and special character. Dear me. Just need a few more. Mobile. Just want some volts. Why do I have to do all this? Why I don't have to do this if I buy petrol? Why can't I just use a contactless card? Would you like a ref card? Yeah, I'd have a continue to billing. I'm starting to see why she's got a 1-star review. Just need a few more details. God, this is tedious. Address for the, I don't know how many times. I just want to fill the car up with some volts. Set up a direct debit, pay monthly subscription and charging session bills. Doesn't tell me how much I'm going to be charged. I'm bored of this. It wants bank details. It won't let me do it from a debit card or contactless card. It won't tell me how much the monthly charge is. So I'm going to abandon this. I'm very glad I still have a decent range. What's really annoying is it has a contactless sign there, so you think you can just fill up. So I've got a 111-mile range, 103 miles covered, so that's 214 miles. So there's 30 miles evaporated somewhere on this journey, and I've only done 103 miles. Right, I'm going to stop at the Oxford Services next because there's an ecotricity pump there. I don't know if you have to register for that one as well. Okay, well, I've just arrived at Oxford Services. No sign saying where the charger might be. There it is. So, right, I'm spotting the chargers. Wow. It's quite interesting seeing this row of Tesla chargers over here, all empty. But what gets me about, just look at the amount of chargers there. Just amazing, the amount of Tesla chargers, superchargers, all of them. None in use, but it just shows the investment Tesla have put into this. What I love about those is they charge fast, 120 kilowatt charge, and the cable is on there. None of this pre-registered. You get it when you buy the car, so it's all sorted. Unlike a car like this Jaguar, that you have to go through the pain to try and get it registered first with all these providers that are different at each place. So I don't know if I can charge at Ecotricity. I'm going to find out. Right, so we have an Ecotricity charger there. Let's have a little look. Am I going to be able to reach that? Nissan charger there. I don't think I can use that because it's the wrong sort of plug. Oh, God. Right, here's the Ecotricity charger. Energy. Battery there at 50%, they're charging. So I want to charge on this side. Download the Highway app. So I can't use it without the app. And also, I don't think, no, that's not my charger. I think that's my high-speed charger is the one in the middle, but that's not there. He's using that one, so I have to wait for him to be able to use it. That's the wrong charger as well. And what's this one? It's that one I could plug in. Right, so that's a get you out of jail, and it says full. So that's a 7 kilowatt charger there. Please touch card on reader. There's a potentially one I can use their Ecotricity, but it's only with my normal Type 2 charger, which is what I use at home. That means it only will recharge at 7 kilowatts an hour, which is about 16 miles an hour charge rate. So there's an awful lot of sitting around if you wanted to put 100 miles. Charging network, I don't know, it's just not up to scratch. Tesla have it absolutely nailed, and that it must be so frustrating for every other manufacturer that they're reliant on a third-party charge network. God knows what it's going to be like when there's more electric cars. But yeah, so there we go. So I've tried 3 and failed 3 attempts. So I'm very glad I've got 79 miles range left, 121 miles we've covered. That's 202. So we've lost 42 miles of range on this journey, and we've only done 121 miles. So yeah, you have a mistrust of the range on the electric car, I'm finding, unfortunately. When motorways are involved, it really does seem to zap it, even if you're just doing 70 miles an hour, 72 miles an hour. Just got home, so we've done 158.4 miles, 35 miles left. That means 194 miles in total on this battery, against 244 when we left this morning. That's a big loss, isn't it? That's 50 miles of range lost somewhere. I've been driving it pretty gently, haven't been speeding. It's 3 degrees now. I think I said, or was it 5 or 6 degrees? So it's cold, and I know batteries don't like being cold, but that's not very good. So what I'm going to do, 35 miles, I'm going to go 17 miles down the road and then 17 miles back, and just see what happens when that range drops to 0. Does the car stop at 0? Does it carry on? Does it bleep and go a bit nuts? I've never had an electric car go to 0. We've all done it on a petrol car, but what happens on a battery car? Well, let's go and find out. Right, the range has gone down to 5 miles, and it's sort of gone to a limpo mode. I was noticing the heater had sort of given up. It was just puffing a sort of lukewarm air rather than warm air as it was doing, and then suddenly at sort of 1-2% battery and 4 mile range, the sensor console went out and I lost everything it was telling me, and I haven't really got a huge amount of acceleration. But by the look of this, you do have to believe the range, that when it goes to 0 it stops. I'm 2 mile range and I'm probably 2 miles from home. Oh heck, it'll be an interesting call when I phone up. Can you come and rescue me? You've run out of sparks. Yeah, I've run out of sparks. You plonker. I'm doing this, you know, this is important work that needs doing. People want to know. I want to know if a car just stops at 0 range. 0 mile range now, and 191.2 miles completed. Is it just going to go pop? Yeah, this suddenly seemed to tumble the final bit. I had quite a lot of miles there, and then, like before, suddenly it took a range away. I lost like 5 miles of range. Stop safely. Vehicle shutting down. Oh, this is a chuffing ball. I don't know if I'm actually going to get home, which will be very embarrassing. Right, I've got to turn right here. I'm trying not to stop. I'm a bit worried if I do stop, it will stop. Yeah, if you've got a Jaguar I-Pace, when it goes to 0, it really means 0. There is not another 20 miles hiding the other side from what I can see. I'm not using indicators, I'm sort of trying to turn in to the start of the farm drive. Now it's tantalisingly close. We're in hundreds of metres to the charge point in the garage. It doesn't matter if I accelerate harder, it's not going any faster than 24-25 miles an hour. We have made it back to the garage. I think I can coast from here. Oh, dear me. Right, here we are. Right, we got home. Quite a slow rate, but we are home, and I'm by the charger. Press OK. Right, I can't tell you how many miles we covered. It was, what was it, 192, 193 miles, but it's very definitely had it. I'm going to recharge overnight. You'll join me in the morning, and then I'll wrap it all together, do a conclusion on what I think of this car. Glad it got me home though. There we are. Well, charged it up last night, came out this morning, fully charged. It took, I think it wanted 12.5 hours to charge it from pretty well flat last night, and got in this morning. I actually had, I think it was 225 mile range. And yeah, if I'm starting to summarise what it's like to live with an I-Pace, well, number one on the positives is that convenience of knowing you have a charger at home and just using the charger, knowing you come out in the morning, you've got a fully charged car. It's dead easy, and it's just lovely not having to visit petrol stations, think, oh, have I filled it up, oh, wife's borrowed it. You just comes utterly automatic. If you've got the charge point at home in the right place and the cable's permanently plugged there, you get out, pop the charger in, done. Come out in the morning, fully charged. There's also an app, it's with all Jaguar Land Rover products, but the one on the I-Pace is really quite clever. You can precondition them, as it's termed, so the moment you know you're about to set off, just sort of 10 minutes before, you precondition the battery, warms the cabin up and that sort of thing, and it records all journeys, it tells you how much charge is in the car and that sort of thing. So I like that. And then it's so cheap to run. Charging at home, I pay about 12.5p a unit, kilowatt hour at home. To charge this up costs, well, absolute flat £11, £10 or thereabouts. Then think you're going to do 200 miles on it, you're at 5p a mile. Then we go regularly to there's a club place up here, Jim, and that's got a courtesy plug-in, so we plug in there. That halves the cost of that journey, down to 2p a mile. Compare that, say you're doing 30 mpg, it's about £6 a gallon now, you're at 20 pence a mile with a normal conventional car at 30 to the gallon. Obviously it gets better. So there's significant savings to be had from running around in an electric car. I would put it at £2,000 a year, £2,500 you're going to save on fuel, depending on what your other car does mpg. So that, you know, nice thing to drive one of these. And then the other thing, I'm just going to slow down. There's nothing behind. This is the other surprise, obviously, with electric car. They're so flipping quick. Here we go. Oh, and 30, 60, and we're sort of illegal. This thing does 4 and a bit to 60, but it does 11 seconds. It only takes 11 seconds to get to 100 miles an hour. That used to be Porsche Turbo, 911 Turbo speed. Ridiculous amount of speed. But what I actually noticed, the only time I really use that speed, is if you're doing an overtake. This is just an overtaking weapon. You're always in the right gear, instant torque. It's shockingly quick. I mean, passengers are always surprised if you just at the speed, relentless speed. But then, I mean, it's like an SVR version of the I-Pace, and it's the standard one. I would dearly like to know what it would be like with a single motor and 2-wheel drive and not the performance, and maybe it'd have a bit more range. Because one of the downsides I find with it, it's not particularly engaging to drive. It's highly competent, low down weight, tricks around corners, etc. But it's soulless somehow. It's silent, electric steering, it just does it. It does speed. And yeah, that's not really what I bought a car like this for, is my feeling. I mean, Tesla do speed, but it's like a sales pitch. It's a, you know, get you in the showroom. You just don't drive them like that. I would way rather have that greater range than all that performance. And then looking at it, if I'm just using it for running around, what basically we end up doing is running this on like a 90-mile tether from the home charging point is how I seem to use it. And for that, it's terrific. Really nice environment. But that price point, £87,000 for a runaround. Okay, there are cheaper models. That seems a huge amount of money for a runaround car. And that's the dilemma I have with this car. The big one is it's let down by the charging network. And it's not just this car, it's every other car apart from a Tesla is let down because it relies on a broken charging system in this country. Now, I have no idea why you have to do the apps for individual companies. Why can't they take a leaf out of the best retailer companies out there? Amazon, Apple, PayPal, all those, and petrol stations, all worked out the easier you make the purchase, the more you sell. And yet, the electric supply companies, electric vehicles in this country, think they'll make it really hard. It's a distress purchase. Charge me a bit extra if I'm not a club member, but allow me to use your service if I'm prepared to pay a premium. So I go contactless and I might pay 30p a unit, but if I'm all signed up with your apps, I might get it for 20p a unit. That seems a much better retail model, and it would push me to using the charge network, where at the moment I just don't want to know. If I've got a long journey, I just take my £6,000 Range Rover, which is not illegal, does 500 miles per fill up. Why am I not going to use that? Why am I going to put up with hanging around somewhere I don't want to be for an hour charging up? Destination charging is fine, and they get, very excited if you can get a 100 kilowatt charge rate, which is around 200 miles an hour if the battery can take it, but it's about a charge rate of that. But then if I fill up my Range Rover, 2-3 minutes to fill, that is actually a 12,000 miles an hour charge rate in the same thing. So charging an electric car at 100-150 miles an hour, it's nearly, 100 times worse than it was filling your car up. I don't normally go to new technology unless it's better. So yeah, that's my summary of electric car. Living with one. We will continue to live with one because it's so good for the local journeys and so good to have that C-Tech charger at home. But I'm only going to really use it locally, I think. I'll leave the long journeys to a conventional car, and that's why I'm still interested in the plug-in hybrid, the modern ones. I think that's the answer at the moment, while we've got a broken charge network for alternative cars apart from Tesla. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, well, keep watching, keep subscribing, because there'll be more videos coming along very soon.